Welcome to the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast, where we equipped you to more effectively lead your seat at any employer, business, or industry in which you choose to play. Each week, we help you sharpen your leadership acumen by cracking open the playbooks of dynamic leaders who are doing big things in their professional endeavors. And now your host, leadership tactics and organizational development expert, Karen Farrell Rhodes.
Hello, my superstars. This is Karen, and welcome back to another episode of the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast. Well, today we have such a tremendous treat for you as far as a guest. She has, I don't even know how to describe her. She has just really rocked the world of known for her sales leadership guidance, but her talents are not limited to that particular area. But she comes at it in a very unique way. And when I, learned about the fantastic work she was doing, I just knew we need to have her as a guest on our podcast. So we're so happy to have on today's show, Lyndsay Dowd, who's the founder and chief heartbeat officer of Heartbeat for Hire LLC, which I love, absolutely love the name of her firm. It really distinguishes itself. But it is a firm that helps sales leaders and organizations improve and cultivate irresistible sales cultures that drive results. And as any top business needs great revenue and sales to be successful. Now, she was recognized as a top 10 business coach by Apple News, which is huge within itself. But she's also was a featured guest lecturer at Harvard University. And she also hosts a top 5% globally ranked podcast called Heartbeat for Hire. And she's a frequent guest speaker on live and recorded shows, just too numerous to name. We would take all of our time with her today if I went down that list. But thank you so much for your time today and welcome to the podcast, Lyndsay.
Thanks for having me, Karen. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we're just absolutely thrilled to have you. I have so much that I want to ask you about and talk with you about during our time with you today. But before we do that, we always love to learn a little bit about our guests on a more personal level. So just for much as you feel comfortable, would you mind just giving us a sneak peek into your life outside of work?
Oh, sure. I love getting to start a show like that because normally it's my professional background. So yeah, I'm a mom of 16-year-old twins who are driving-ish. We're not fully licensed yet, so we're getting there. And
Yeah.
I am a dog mom as well. I have a 7-pound miniature dachshund in my lap who will pop her head up at some point, Poppy Long Sausage. And then I have another rescue girl, a little senior lady in the other room.
Oh,
And I'm married. I live just north of Boston. I love to entertain. And I do a little interior design.
nice.
And I get to do a little bit of styling for friends. And yeah, it's a very full, very busy life. And
Sounds like it.
yeah, that's about as much as I can tell you at the moment.
No, I appreciate you sharing. Definitely. And listeners, I was joking with Lyndsay on our pre-call conversation that you all know who've been with me for a while that, Poppy and Bones are at my feet. So we're, Lyndsay and I are both dog moms and both have very, very active, similar lives, although our kids are a bit older now. So what I will share with you, Lyndsay, is continue to mentor your twins on the driving because life gets a whole lot easier once they're mobile on their own.
We get I'm a really good driver, Mom, don't you think? And then I go, yeah, you just need more experience. Like
Right.
we need more time behind the wheel before I'm really going to give you the full endorsement.
Yeah,
So
same here.
the
But when it
instincts are good.
comes, it's a beautiful thing, let me tell you.
The freedom for us, I think, is going to be delightful. The part I
Yeah,
will miss is holding them hostage in the car and getting to ask them questions.
too. I missed that as well because you just had that control, knew where they were. But that's part of them, growing up and becoming,
Right.
The great individuals that they're going to be. So, anywho. Well, thank you so much for sharing that
Right.
with us. So, I think I'd love to dive in first about a little bit about your professional background. We're similar in the sense that a lot of our corporate careers were in I would say, tech and data space. I was, at Microsoft for 14 years, along with other companies like Comcast and AT&T and what have you. But you had a long tenure at IBM, so would love to hear a little bit more about your exploits there.
Yeah, I spent 23 years there, and I came in through the acquisition of Lotus.
Yeah, I remember
And
that. I'm
if
old
you
enough
ask,
to remember that.
of course, I think we were like big competitors at the time.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if you ask any person that worked for Lotus, most of us will say that we acquired IBM, which is not the truth, but we felt that way. It was a long, decorated career. I managed large sales teams, and it was incredible. And I came from a really Big Blue background. My family put in 105 years at Big Blue. So
Wow.
my father, my husband, my father-in-law, and my mother-in-law all worked there. And that's where I met my husband. I was the last one. And after 23 years, I was ready for a change. And so I was sought out by another company, and they said, come and manage a sales team for us. And I said, okay. And so I packed up my Big Blue legacy and off I went to this other company. And in 6 short months, they fired me.
Oh,
And I was
no.
gutted. I didn't see it coming, Karen. It was very personal. I was really, really sideways. And for a month, I couldn't even talk about it. And I asked myself 3 questions. What am I really good at? What do I love to do? And how can I help people the most? And what I knew better than anyone else I knew was I knew how to build modern leaders, and I knew how to create irresistible culture that drives results. And so I bet on myself, and I started my company, and that was called Heartbeat for Hire, as you said. And I started keynote speaking. I started coaching C-suites and individual leaders. I wrote a couple of books. I started a podcast, and that was all in about 2.5 years. And just this past October, I accepted the role of Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Intree. So I still have my podcast. I still am keynoting. And what Intree focuses on is really a 360-degree view of job seekers. So we help individual job seekers. We help employers with their outplacement services. We help job placement agencies leverage our technology. And we help career coaches and resume writers with a really one-stop shop of a platform that they can use to manage their businesses.
Amazing.
So
Well, congratulations on the new role. I don't think
thank
I
you.
knew that since we started connecting, and what was the company again?
It's called Intry, Intry.
Okay, I'm going to look that
And we
up.
have a patented technology that is very sought after by over 100 companies currently. So
Oh,
it's exciting, and it's very on brand for me. I'm still helping people, still
yeah.
working with leaders, still getting them to really take care of their people, which we all need more of.
Love that. Love that. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your vision and work around regarding Heartbeat for Hire. Because when I first read about your business, I couldn't guess what you did just by the title of the company.
Sure.
But then when I looked on the side and saw the fantastic offerings and services you all have, it kind of made sense. So I'd love for you to share with our audience members a bit more about Heartbeat for
Sure.
Hire and what you've learned about consulting and growing leaders in the space of maybe sales and other disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting when I have a room full of people and I get to ask the question, who here in the room has had a bad leader? 100% of the room raises their hand,
Yes,
no
we
hesitation.
did. Right.
And when you ask the flip side of who here has had a great leader, maybe half, maybe less. And in my estimation is that's not enough. And if you've never had a good leader, how do you know what that looks like?
Right.
And so that's why I wrote my books. That's why I did the podcast, because I really believed, I'm a storyteller at heart. I really believed that you're going to hear a story, whether it's from a CEO or it's from a scientist or it's from a world champion athlete or an Olympian or somebody is going to say just that thing that's going to click for you. And you're going to be like, huh,
Right.
I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to try differently. And here's the reality. No one's ever been inspired by micromanagement. And
Yeah.
all people want is the space to do the jobs they were hired for. And what happens in business is business moves really fast. Everybody is focused on quotas and deadlines and board opinions, and we lose sight of our core values as companies. And
True.
when you as a C-suite leader, it's important to take the pulse of your organization to say, do you all know what our values are? Most do not,
Most don't. No.
unless it's plastered all over the walls, but
If you're lucky if they can repeat one, right? An employee can
we haven't been
repeat
in
one.
offices in a while. So it's not
Yeah.
like we're walking around looking at these things that we see all the time. And maybe it's on company communication, but is it felt?
Right.
Do people agree with it?
Do they
Would they
live it?
say that to their friends? And when you have those moments of uncertainty, you got to check yourself and you got to really say, okay, well, how can I inspire my people? Because
Yes.
modern leadership is not micromanaging. It's not telling you this is what you should do. It's saying, I'm coming to the table. You guys have been here longer than I have. Tell me what you've learned. One of the tips I love to give leaders when you're assuming a new team is to go on a listening tour.
Yeah.
And those listening tours are so valuable because you are finding out who's who in the zoo, what the politics are, who should you watch, who's good, who's worrisome, and you're getting so much intelligence, but what you're really doing is you're building trust.
That's right.
And the best teams that produce the best results have trust and psychological safety. And
That's
when they have that, they will try things they have never done before.
that's
And I
right.
have so many good stories about leaders who have done that. And then I have equally as many stories of those who have destroyed trust and fractured it and shattered it in some cases.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you can't get them back.
You sure
So,
can. And one of the things yes, and one of the things I always tell clients or when I speak, similar to you, I always say go on a listening tour
yeah,
and
it's great.
truly listen, right? Give them the space to share, the permission to be vulnerable as an individual meeting with you, and then actually listen and give them a place to share. And I always remind them that for their teams, the knowledge is in the room
Yeah.
95% of the time. They're the ones who live and breathe what you all are focused on or your
100%.
goals and strategies every single day. And as a leader, how you can be most valuable is to observe, listen, and be the one that pulls the red thread together because they
Yeah.
might be working in silos, but very few people, to your point, want to be micromanaged or want to be told something that they technically are probably more of an expert on than you are. What are
Oh,
your thoughts on
100%.
that?
Well, you brought me to a story. I had this amazing leader. Her name's Adriana, and we're still very good friends to this day. And the first time she became my boss, she said to me, she said, "Okay, so how do you want to run the business?" And I looked at her and I'm like, "Me?
Me?
You want to know?" And she's like, "Well, you've been
Yeah,
here longer. You know what's going on. So, yeah, of course I want to know." And I'm like, "Can I have a minute? I want to go talk to my team. I want to like get my answer together before I come back to you because I know what I want to do, but I want to make sure that they're on board for this." And she's like, "Yeah, go for it." And so I turned to my team and I'm like, "You guys, there's a new sheriff in town and I love her. So let's think outside the box. What haven't we done? What haven't we tried? We have her support." Well, as soon as people hear that, they're like, "Well, I always
really?
wanted to try this. And would you ever be open to this? And maybe we could try." And listen, the stuff we did was weird and
Yeah,
it worked. And I called my teams mavericks and hustlers. I wanted them to think differently about themselves. I wanted them to not be afraid to try new things and not be afraid to fail.
yeah,
And failure is a natural part of growth.
it is.
Without failure, you can't reach that success. And so, as a leader, how you handle that failure really matters. If you're going to throw your people under the bus, you've broken their trust
That's
and they
right.
will not want to work for you.
At
But
all.
if you're going to own it, which a leader should, especially if you're going to delegate something, if something gets done wrong, you fall on that sword. You
That's right.
say, "No, this was my responsibility. I handed it to so and so, but I didn't educate them enough, or I didn't give them enough information, or whatever it is. This is on me." And that respect will carry you for a very long time. But it's so, so important that leaders understand how they need to be showing up and the kind of space they want to give to their teams. And when you do that, the results always follow.
They do always follow. And, leaders also need to remember that once you break that trust, it doesn't the feeling does not stay confined to your team.
Oh, it
Bad
reverberates.
news travels fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you want
To
a terrible story?
Yeah, tell
Okay,
me.
here's a terrible story. So I was asked to be in my general manager's executive leadership meeting, and my boss couldn't be there. So I was covering, she was on vacation. And I was mostly there to listen. And then he made a comment about my business, and I didn't understand it. And I contributed to over 60% of his overall business. So
Oh,
when
wow.
someone says something about your business and it doesn't make sense, you stop and you're like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, what was that? And so
Right.
I said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Could you please clarify? And he stops the call and he looks directly at me. He goes, "What is wrong with you? Are you crazy? You interrupted my flow. How dare you? I was in the middle of a thought. What are you thinking, stopping me like this? What is the matter with you?" Now, there's a dozen other leaders on this Zoom watching him dress me down this way. And
Wow.
I was doing all I could to keep a steady face. On the inside, I'm shaking, I'm ready to cry, I am upset.
Furious.
And
Yeah.
we end the call, and I called my boss, and I'm crying at this point. And I'm like, I have never been spoken to in front of my peers and above me that way. That was horrific. And she's like, "Oh my God, what the hell happened?" I'm going to call one of the other guys who was on the call to really like corroborate your story. Not that she doubted me. She just really wanted to see, was it as
Get
bad as
another
I said? And he's like, it was everything she said and worse. It was out of line, so out of line. And he needs to apologize to her. So the two of them go and tell him that what he did was unacceptable. He needs to apologize. A few days go by, and I get this call. "Hi, Lyndsay, I understand I owe you an apology." And I went,
That's it?
said, "But I don't understand what you were doing." And I said, "I didn't understand the comment you made. And I was just asking for some clarity because it was my business you were talking about."
Sure.
And he said, "Do you understand what I was trying to do?" I said, "I don't." "What were you trying to do?" And he said, "I was trying to get Kathy to hang herself. I need to fire her, and I wanted her to fall on her sword. And you
What?
interrupted, and so she couldn't fall into my trap." And I'm sitting there going,
That person needs to be
"Th-
removed
this is
immediately.
so terrible." But what happened at that point was everyone on the call saw his true colors.
Yeah,
Bit by bit, we all left the business because none of us wanted to work for him.
of course not.
And the trust was shattered. So if he wanted above and beyond from any of us, he wasn't going to get it. But here's the sad part: he's still leading people today, and he shouldn't be.
I'm not a betting or gambling person, but I would bet a whole penny that you were not the first person that he or she behaved that way to. And that is, well, one of the reasons why, people probably left his team in the company, because
Yeah, I mean,
that is not.
nobody responds to that kind of leadership. And,
No,
I've seen executives jump up and down on tables. I've seen them throw things. I've seen them belittle people, make people feel bad. I've certainly been the recipient of a lot of that. And that is uninspired. That is old, old style and not wanted or warranted anymore.
that's
And if you want to be a modern leader, you have to inspire your people. You have to give them space. You have to encourage them and really figure out what they need. And one of the questions I teach leaders to ask is, how can I be the best leader for you?
right.
When you ask that question, you're going to get different answers from everyone you ask because
Exactly.
everybody has different goals. They're in different age groups. They need different things. And some people don't want their name in lights. Some people are like, "I'm skating into retirement. I got 5 more years." Others are like, "I want to climb that ladder. I want to be a people leader. I want to get out of sales entirely. I want to go into executive learning," or whatever it is. But if you don't ask the question, you don't know, and you
That's
won't
right.
understand what motivates your people, and you'll never be able to support them the way they need it. So it's a smart question to ask, and it's humbling because it means you don't know everything. And you know
That's
what?
right.
Nobody
It's
does.
No, and it's so definitely okay. And similar to you, I always advise leaders to treat every person as a leader of one and get to know them. And then you can see kind of what trends and things are going on in your teams. But you have to your point, understand what excites them and motivates them, what are their triggers, how they prefer to work and at their optimal levels. You have to take all of these facts into account. And if you're not willing to do so, then
Get out of the
maybe
job.
that leadership is not the great job for you.
I always say, be the leader you always wish you had.
That's right.
And when you can think about it that way, it's going to make you pause and think twice. If you're about to deliver something tough, how would you want to receive it?
Absolutely. So, Lyndsay, I'm going to switch lanes just a little bit because I would love for you to share two things. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your podcast and what knowledge or features do you love to highlight via the podcast. And then if you can give us a couple of sentences also about your book.
Yeah, love to. So the podcast, as I said, it's a series of stories, but we're at the end of 2024, it'll be 130 episodes,
Wow.
and it's a combination of Olympians and world champion athletes and doctors and scientists and Hollywood producers and Emmy-winning journalists and authors and speakers and brilliant minds who are amazing at what they do. It's their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. And like I said, I designed this show to give examples what good leadership looks and feels like. And
Nice.
it could come from unexpected places. And I love when my listeners come back and they're like, I had to listen to that 3 times because so and so dropped so much knowledge. And it's
Yeah.
very like your show, very conversational, very like I ask things that I'm interested in. So I like to think I'm asking on behalf of the listeners, this is
Same
stuff that
here.
you would ask too. And it's a total joy. I absolutely love doing it. And the episodes are so varied because of the guests. They're so varied.
Yeah.
So there's goodness across the whole thing. I mean, the professional athletes are always interesting because they have the coach, coachy kind of thing happening. And how do
Sure.
you get greatness out of an athlete? But all of those analogies correlate so easily to business. So that's really a fun parallel to draw.
You know what? But that's an example of meeting them where they are because you have to think for professional athletes, that has been their space and what they've been renowned for since they were probably 5 years old. So that's what they've been exposed to. There's
Yeah.
coaches and what have you, and that's the coach speak, right? Or the inspirational speak. But to your point, there's still lessons learned that can be applied to the world of work as well.
100%. But the reason I love athletes so much is because everyone understands that an athlete has a coach. But in business, you need a coach too.
You
And
do.
especially if you want to do things you've never done before,
That's
you
right.
need your personal board of advisors. And
That's
this is something that I talk about a lot. And building your community, building your network. Who are those people that know what you're capable of, that are going to push you, that are going to say, you can do this. What are you, crazy? You've done this 100 times. Go. This isn't hard. And, when you don't have that belief in yourself, borrow it from someone else. So take those moments from these people who care about you and want to see you win
That's
and
right.
go for it. So I will say that after my corporate tenure, I certainly never thought I was going to be an author. I never thought I would be a
No?
podcast host. I certainly didn't anticipate that I would end up being a chief revenue officer. So, I was very open to all these opportunities that came my way, and I got really comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And so there is
Me
something
too.
new that's happening all the time. So there's 2 books. So the first book is Top Down Culture, and that
Love it.
is a collection of stories, a little bit like some of the ones I told, of good examples and terrible examples of leadership. And the best compliment I get from that book is when people that know me read it, they say, Linz, I could hear your voice so clearly. It sounded like I was sitting next to you. It just sounded like you. So that's cool. And
That
then
is
the second
cool.
book is Voices of Women. And this is an anthology with 22 women from around the world sharing their stories on leadership. And it's wide range. Some are familial, some are professional, some are government related, but very inspiring women who have done really incredible things. And one of the stories is mine. So that was a joy to be a part of.
That's wonderful. Well, listeners, we will have links to how to find Lyndsay's books and purchase them in the show notes. So don't you dare move on to listen to another podcast until you look at her show notes and check that out. But we cannot let Lyndsay get out of here without sharing her insights on our signature guest question. And as you all know, I wrote a book on leadership execution, and out of the research, there were 7 tactics of high performing leaders that we write about. And Lyndsay was so kind to share that leading with stakeholder savvy really resonated with her. And for my new listeners out there, leading with stakeholder savvy is all about your ability to assess the interpersonal dynamics in any situation that you're in and pivot and operate effectively within that situation. So, when you're in a networking event, you might come in and have one type of behavior and attitude of being social and trying to understand and meet new people. But there are other times when you're presenting a major presentation that you're in kind of executive mode where you're trying to get over a concept or, influence a course of action. So all are equally as important. It just shows up in different ways based on the social situation. So curious minds want to know, Ms. Lyndsay, why did stakeholder savvy really resonate with you?
Well, I think what it comes down to, Karen, is matching energy. And, any parent who watches their kid kind of, if you have a real exuberant child, I have one, where you need her to temper her excitement when she sees someone in the hall at school or, hey, like not everybody's up for that. So you
Right.
have to like read the room. And if
That's
you're
right.
going to come in like a wrecking ball, is that the right move?
Right.
And so, you have to look at it in the macro. Are you walking into a room of people or are you walking into a one-on-one situation? And you can tell immediately if someone's having a bad day. You can
Right.
see their energy is down. You can see their facial expression. You can see they're trying to hold it together. So you walking up being like, hey, I'm doing awesome. Like that's just insensitive and you're a
It
jerk.
is.
If
Right.
you
So.
sense that something is going on, stop, ask them. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're not going to talk about it, but you can just say, hey, I see something's going on with you and I'm a safe space. And if you want to talk, let's talk. But, if you're okay, let's move ahead with what we were here to talk about.
Right.
I just feel like as leaders, everyone's going through something. And what you have to remember is when you become someone's leader, you become their topic of dinner conversation.
Yeah.
So make sure those dinner conversations are good. And if you are the person that's going to stop and ask them, how's your life? When's the last time you went to the doctor? What's going on with your family? And if you ask them questions about their life, down the answers, put them in your phone.
That's
And so when
right.
you say,
Remembering.
"Oh, hi, Kristen. Oh, I mean, Karen," like, come on.
I
We want
know.
you listening, or it just shows you're paying attention.
It does.
And there's nothing worse than having someone say, "Oh, yeah, how's Mark?" You mean Mike, my husband?
Yeah.
I've
It's
known you for 10 years and you don't know that? They look like a jerk.
and you're both
So
uncomfortable with that at that point. You're like, really? Is
exactly.
that
In
the effort
fact,
you put in?
this will make you laugh. My brother works for a really awful CEO, and she sent him a holiday present and got his name wrong
Oh,
on the the
oh,
mailing list. Like it was really the wrong name. And he called me and told me, and I was like, oh my God. I think I would take a picture with what she sent and send it to her and say thank you.
mhm. Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. Don't be
All
that
right.
guy.
Well, Lyndsay, we have to be courteous of your time. This has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. But before I let you go, as I mentioned, listeners will have all information about her in the show notes. But Lyndsay, we want to give you a little bit of airtime to share where people can find you in the company.
Yeah, so my website is heartbeatforhire.com. You can listen to my podcast on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. I'm also at entry.com, actually entrycareers.com.
Okay.
And I'm very busy on LinkedIn. I'm on all the socials and Karen will share all of those in the show notes, I am sure. But please connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to build my network and if I can help you at all, please reach out. And if job seekers or employers need help with their outplacement stuff, I'm your girl.
There you go, right there. Have her on I was going to say speed dial, but since they don't have your numbers yet, I'll just say have you on speed connection on LinkedIn.
There we
and
go.
reach
That
out.
works. That works. I love it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Lyndsay. It was lovely having you here today.
It was my pleasure, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And thank you to listeners as well for coming back for another episode and the gift of your time. We literally know that there are millions of other podcasts out there, and we do not take your patronage lightly. So all that we ask is that you please like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with just one friend, because by doing so, it will enable all of us to better lead at the top of our games. Thanks so much, and see you next week. And that's our show for today. Thank you for listening to the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast, where we help you lead your seat at any employer, business, or industry in which you choose to play. You can check out the show notes, additional episodes, bonus resources, and also submit guest recommendations on our website at leadyourgamepodcast.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn by searching for the name Karen Rhodes, with Karen being spelled Karan. And if you like the show, the greatest gift you can give would be to subscribe and leave a rating on your podcast platform of choice. This podcast has been a production of Shockingly Different Leadership, a global consultancy which helps organizations execute their people, talent development, and organizational effectiveness initiatives on an on-demand project or contract basis. Huge thanks to our production and editing team for a job well done. Goodbye for now.